A beautiful late April day for a stroll outside. Tobias Harris recognizing the excellent weather today. The man on the hill from the last game, unearthed at this current point in time, not barefoot, but rocking the tie-dye, which we always appreciate here on 7-6 Live Countdown. Seth Curry and the 76ers continuing a homestand tonight. They have got the Atlanta Hawks in a matchup of two of the better teams in the Eastern Conference as a two-game series gets underway in South Philadelphia. Zooming inside the center, the 76ers coming off a nice needed victory. There is the aforementioned Seth Curry getting loose in the near corner. Great to see Danny Green, one-legged jump shots and all, back out there after sitting out the game on Monday. Fortunately for the 76ers, they did not need them as they dusted off the Oklahoma City Thunder in convincing fashion. What's up, everyone? Welcome in to 7-6 Live Countdown presented by Tissot. I'm Brian Seltzer. Hello, Lauren Rosen. The 76ers tonight opening up a two-game home series against the Atlanta Hawks. Atlanta, a great team for the last month and a half since making a coaching change. No Trae Young tonight, so we can hit that right off the top. It looks like, Lauren, the 76ers are healthy as they go for a very big milestone tonight.
Yes, indeed. Seltz, that milestone, of course, chasing a official playoff berth for 2021 with a victory tonight per the NBA and per your tweet. Tonight could be the night that the Sixers clinch their playoff run.
I think, just to be clear, to set it straight for the record, it's also according to general mathematics. Some of us, like me, however, I cannot handle the cranium computations that would be necessary to figure out magic numbers, especially this season, Lauren, where we have the cutoff now in the standings after the sixth spot because those are the teams that are safe. And then if you get into 7 through 10, you're talking about the play-in game and all that. So tonight, it's going to be nice and easy. The formula is very simple for the 76ers. When you clinch a spot, you're in. And for the Sixers, this would be a fourth straight year in the postseason. My, how far the process seems to be in the rear view. I think we might have lost Lauren there for a second. But yeah, it's amazing to think, Lauren, how not too long ago the 76ers, I guess maybe the true esoteric question is, does the process ever end? Some may say yes, others may say no. But to think that just in the last 4 years, the 76ers have made this quantum leap, before we dive into the details of tonight's specific matchup, I think it's taking a moment to appreciate what the 76ers have been able to sustain now over the last 4 years, multiple general manager changes, and for this year, a new head coach.
Well, they've got themselves into a place where there will be some sustained success. We've seen it in the last couple of seasons. The guys, as Doc Rivers said just before our stream, are still pretty young. The superstars on this team have a lot of good years left in them. This figures to be just one of many good runs that the Sixers are going to have the opportunity to pursue over the next few years.
We also, Lauren, know based on tonight's media availability and what Doc Rivers and others within the 76ers have said in the past, the number one seed remains very, very important to this team. I think they believe in the home court. Listen, the proof is in the way the Sixers have performed, regardless of who's been on the roster in recent seasons. So I think a number one seed and going forward over these final 3 weeks means a lot to the Sixers.
For sure. It's the top of mind for everyone after maybe health. Health, of course, the top priority for this team. But seeding always comes up right after they discuss the importance of health. Of course, with those 3 big teams jockeying at the top of the Eastern Conference in your Sixers, the Nets, and the Bucks, the 1 seed would only have to face one of those teams in their path to the finals. Would like to be that number 1 seed if you're any of those 3 teams.
76ers going into tonight's game are 1.5 games behind the Brooklyn Nets, which are winners of 3 straight. The Sixers back 2 games up on Milwaukee, which is in the 3rd spot in the standings. So a clear-cut three at the top of the Eastern Conference between Brooklyn, 76ers, and Milwaukee. But the Sixers tonight taking on a team that could, who knows, depending on where everyone shakes out, could be a potential opponent, depending on where the cards fall. The Atlanta Hawks, they've played great over the last 2 months. They're 34-28. They made a coaching change, relieving former 76ers longtime assistant Lloyd Pierce of his duties back on March 1st. And since then, Nate McMillan's come in, and he's really helped turn things around. But no Trae Young tonight for a Sixers team that's trying to gain momentum after coming off a really convincing victory over the Oklahoma City Thunder. Totally outmatched them 121-90 on Monday night.
Yeah, no Trae Young, of course, makes it a little bit tough on the Hawks, who are, though, still 7-3 in their last 10. They've had a really impressive run, perhaps exceeding expectations based on where folks might have thought this team would be at the beginning of the season, where folks might have thought they would be at the beginning of March. Still a good opponent. They obviously had their loss to the Detroit Pistons on Monday. I believe that was a 100-86 loss. But like you said, no Trae Young puts a pretty big dent in their potential productivity. Hopefully the Sixers will be able to take advantage of that absence this evening.
Sixers took advantage of having Ben Simmons back in the lineup on Monday night. Great to see him out there after a 4-game absence. Wouldn't you know, Lauren, the 76ers, now I get it. They played an Oklahoma City team that is not particularly great at the moment. But Ben Simmons returns, and the 76ers look like a different team. Who could have thunk and who could have envisioned that happening?
Well, it was an opportunity to get the offense humming, to get the defense to a place where they were comfortable. It was an opportunity to see action from 3 distinct units. The second unit has struggled lately just in terms of continuity. There haven't been that many opportunities for the traditional second unit to play together. Monday's matchup gave an opportunity to the first unit, the second unit, and the third unit to get some productive reps all together. Of course, no Danny Green in this one. Furkan Korkmaz, you see there, stepped into the starting lineup in Danny's absence. But overall, a lot of really great opportunities for continuity, especially against a team that obviously was a little bit overmatched in this one. The Sixers still got a great chance to get some good reps in.
How poetic was it, Lauren, on that very first play of the game? We saw Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, and Furkan Korkmaz all involved as Ben Simmons displaying one of his nice dunks there, set up off of a very crafty Matisse Thybulle steal. That those were 3 guys who did not play, talking about Joe and Ben and Furkan in the game against Milwaukee over the weekend. They came right back, and here's another look at Furkan and Ben again doing some good things. And yes, when you are fully healthy and you have all your guys out there, it can change the way things go down.
Doc Rivers said it immediately following that stretch of losses that people don't really think of the way that Ben Simmons affects the offense even when he's not the primary scoring option. Like you said, finding Furkan for that 3 at the very beginning of the game felt super poetic. It was exactly what Doc Rivers had described. It took him a few seconds to get into action. And then, of course, on the defensive end, I mean, Ben has been phenomenal all season long. They're one of the more flashy opportunities that he's had, but a really good defensive game as well for the Sixers. Celts, we haven't talked about their 22 steals, which was a high for the entire league. A crazy, crazy outing. 11 different players with a steal. You don't hear about games like that often on the defensive end.
No, it was terrific. The defense was so great. Tobias Harris with 4 steals in the game, Ben with 3, Joel with 3 off the bench, Matisse Thybulle with 3. Really nice to see the 76ers with Ben back digging in defensively, because there's no doubt so much of the 76ers defensive identity comes from him. And again, no surprise that while Ben was absent for 4 games, the 76ers defensive rating skyrocketed to second worst in the league during that time period. They were giving up roughly 120 points per 100 possessions. So locking down defensively, keeping the OKC Thunder under 100. Great to see. Forcing turnovers. Just good to see Ben Simmons. Let's hear from Doc Rivers and his thoughts on Ben Simmons' return.
I thought it was great. You know, it's just the point I made before the game. Like I was talking about, the coach called and said, if anybody talks about his value on offense, just watch. The first play of the game, we got a 3. It was created by Ben Simmons. So I think he was really good. I thought defensively he was even better tonight. You could see he had his legs, he had great energy. So that was good. Good team win. We needed to win that one.
76ers sure did, and it's so intriguing, Lauren, all the talk that always seems to surround Ben Simmons, but nothing reinforces, to me at least, how good the guy is when the Sixers don't have him. And this was something that Doc talked about. To him, it seemed like the Sixers, correct me if I'm wrong, but to him, it seemed like the Sixers had a more difficult time figuring out how to win without Ben than they had recently without Joel Embiid. And that's, we're not saying one or the other, but it's just, I think, a very interesting point that Doc made.
It's an important point to make, and you're spot on. It was almost the first thing I believe that Doc was asked about following the game. The Sixers found a way to win in that stretch without Joel, and they struggled to do the same in the stretch without Ben. Of course, not equating necessarily what the absence of either player means here, but Ben is so involved in so many parts of the game for this team, on the offensive end, on the defensive end, that his absence might be harder to adjust to. There's never a moment that he's not valuable when he's out there. And luckily, I think a lot of folks were reminded of that during Monday's game.
Ben Simmons in the matchup, 12 points, 4 assists, 3 boards, 3 steals, and 2 blocks. Ben Simmons assessing what it was like to be back out there.
Yeah, I'm just glad to be back, honestly. I miss being with the fellas. And then especially being able to come out here and get the win tonight was huge. And I think the energy was great tonight. Everyone played their role. Everyone, was doing that thing all night long, which was great, especially that third unit that came in also. Paul was dominating. Tyrese was doing well. Everyone was playing together and, playing hard.
The third group, also known as the hardest working, Lauren, low-minute group in the NBA. We have documented here how the 76ers bench players, the low-minute guys, have put in so much work over the course of this season to stay fresh, stay ready. Great to see them get an opportunity to finish off the game in the fourth quarter predominantly on Monday, and they played great.
Yeah, it was interesting. I had talked to Furkan Korkmaz earlier in the day on Monday. I asked him about Tyrese Maxey, and of course, he gave a lot of positive feedback for the way that Tyrese has played lately, 5 straight games in double digits for the rookie. But Furkan echoed what Doc Rivers had said a couple weeks ago, that this is the hardest working low-minute group that Furkan has been around. It's his 4th year in the NBA. He's seen some groups. He's been parts of some of those groups, and he says exactly what Doc Rivers said. This low-minute group loves to run together. They love to work out as much as possible. And they get the opportunity to show their stuff on a night like Monday. Really good to see Tyrese, of course, going off, but the other guys as well. Great to see everybody get involved, and then to see the starters and the rotation players cheering them on from the sidelines.
Listen, I think that there are enough guys on the Sixers roster who have stuck up their hand and performed well to give Doc Rivers a little bit of a wider playoff rotation at the outset, at least. But you got to think, Lauren, that for guys like Paul Reed or Isaiah Joe or Rajon Tucker, Mason Jones, they're seeing the calendar, and I think they have to realize that opportunities for them might be running out just to simply get into live game action at the NBA level. And you never know when, in the big picture, an opportunity is the beginning of something huge for you, or when your next opportunity will come around. So it seems like these guys are playing with a lot of urgency.
For sure. Look at Shake Milton just a year ago, fighting to get into the rotation himself, getting an opportunity and scoring 39 against then Doc Rivers Clippers team. And things can change really quickly for guys like Tyrese, for those guys that are on their 2-way contracts fighting their way into the rotation. So like you said, the opportunities might be numbered, but really great to see them capitalize on them when they get the chance to.
You would not certainly put a veteran who is as experienced and seasoned as George Hill in the category of low-minute guys. We know that George has been putting in a lot of work on non-game days, trying to get himself fresh, ready to go for the stretch run and into the playoffs. He played 14 minutes in the win on Monday. 2 points, 3 assists, but he provided a great defensive presence, and the 76ers, along with Tobias Harris, really thrilled to see him back out there.
Yes,
just his
indeed.
really his pace out there and his veteran savviness. I think he's one of those guys that's real calm on the floor, able to make shots, able to be disruptor on the defensive end as well. So just a really solid piece for us, and a guy that has the experience for our team.
Lauren, you got to talk to Tobias next time, not to interrupt you as you're beginning to make a very important point.
It's okay. We're doing this virtually. We've had a lot of reps, but every once in a while we step on each other's toes. That's my bad. Always great to hear from Tobias.
Listen, I think one thing that I've learned is there's no amount of virtual reps you can possibly get to do a clean virtual pregame stream. That's what I'm learning.
Especially with the little delay. I don't know if we've mentioned the little delay on air before. I think we've done a really good job of managing it, but you kind of have to anticipate, and sometimes you make bad gambles. I don't know. That's on me.
We have Lauren's Inside Access segment with Shake Milton coming up in a moment, but it's a home game. What does that mean? It means Sixers ENT is on the scene, ready to go, rock the sellout crowd of 4,099. Fellas, how we doing?
And we're back. Countdown presented by Tissot, the official watch of the NBA and your Philadelphia 76ers. It's your main man, Archie, standing with my main man, Christian Crosby.
Thank you, Archie, the gentleman. We couldn't be more excited for some Sixers basketball tonight. I want to remind you guys, make sure you download the official 76ers app. You can get some wallpapers, photos, videos, and of course, tune in to the best podcast in the NBA with Brian and Lauren. Archie, what else can you do on that app?
Well, I'm glad you asked. You'll also win your free Wendy's Frosty Freeze-Out that happens in the second half of the game. Last game, we won a free small Frosty. This game, we're going for a small Frosty and a small fry, and hopefully a medium Frosty and a medium fry, but we're going to leave that in the hands of our fans.
Hey, it's been happening a lot lately, so hopefully we can keep that action going. But speaking of action, let's toss it over to the Sixers. Enjoy.
Squad 7-6, DJ Ghost, Atlanta Hawks versus your Philadelphia 76ers.
And you guys can tune in NBC Sports in Philadelphia, as Archie said. I got one more thing to say.
Let's go Sixers!
No in-game, in-arena entertainment crew does it better than Sixers ENT, Christian, Archie, Antoine, the whole crew. Love it. Love it. Always bringing great energy to the building.
Agreed, Seltz. I don't know if I'm ready to take that praise from Christian. He said something about the best podcast in the NBA. That feels like hyperbole to me, but I do appreciate the shout out.
Listen, I'm not saying anything. This is, all I'll put out there is it just so happened that Christian appeared on Mailbag Monday this past week, and now all of a sudden, 2 days later, Christian's saying the best podcast in the NBA. Which, listen, if he wants to say that, I'm not gonna dispute or tell him not to say things like that. But the timing, I just do want to make note of that.
Hey, look. I always respect a shameless plug. If Christian wants to use his own shameless plug to give us a shameless plug, I'm all about it. I don't care. I'll take it.
When Christian is involved, the product is good.
It's true. The man knows entertainment.
One thing that we were looking at over the course of the last week or so with George Hill coming into the fold is how he would fit into rotations with the 76ers. And we heard Tobias Harris talking about George Hill just before throwing it to Sixers ENT. And I think that one thing that now that the Sixers are healthy that's going to be beneficial is that George Hill is going to get some time in the backcourt, specifically, Lauren, with Shake Milton. It seems like that's a pairing that the Sixers, Doc Rivers, feel has a lot of potential and versatility to it.
For sure. And Shake was asked about that pairing this morning. He says it's only going to grow over time. He said what a lot of his teammates have said about George's ability to really mentor the young guys, to get in their ear, to help them along. Even before he started playing with this team, he was building those relationships and bonds with Shake, for example. And yes, will be great to see him get some more minutes with that second unit, with the guys that he's going to share more minutes with in the playoffs. It's something Doc Rivers said was tough to not have during that period without Ben when the team was pretty shorthanded. George came into the rotation for the first time and didn't really get the reps with the group that he's going to continue on with. So look for the next few games to be a great opportunity for George to find that.
Shake Milton coming off of a performance where he dropped 7 points with plus 12 in 14 minutes against the Thunder. Lauren, he seems to really be coming into his own, finding his stride once again at the most important time of the year.
It was a funny media availability for Shake, and I'm going to give you guys our conversation in just a second, but something I thought was worth mentioning. Shake talked about the fact that last season, a 10-point performance was an overperform, something to celebrate. This season, he gets 10 or 12 points, and people want to know what's wrong with Shake. So he's adjusting to his expanded role this season, taking everything in stride, and I got the opportunity to catch up with him about how he's feeling headed into the home stretch earlier today. Hey, Shake, obviously it's been a crazy year. Now that you're heading into this home stretch of the regular season and looking at the postseason, what's your mindset going into these last few regular season games? Maybe your mindset and the collective team mindset.
Well, I could say, personally and for the team, I think our mindset is just, cleaning up on little mistakes and correcting habits, and then, trying to take those and bring it to the game and then really work on it so that, when the playoffs come, we're hitting the ground running and we can really strive for, what we're striving for. So.
You've talked to me about second unit chemistry all season long. How nice was it to finally have an opportunity Monday to actually get some reps together after quite a few games without the full units together?
Yeah, it was. It's been good, and I feel like it's going to continue to go good. It's a learning process, but now that we've got everybody seemingly healthy, second unit can kind of get together and continue to build good chemistry that we've already had. So it's been good.
Awesome. Thank you, Shake, and shout out to that sweatshirt.
Oh, yeah. WNBA. Got to represent.
Thanks, Shake. Got to represent indeed. Love seeing all the support that these Sixers and guys across the league have had for the female ballers out there in the WNBA. I love that sweatshirt. Maybe one day I'm going to have to wear that sweatshirt on this show. But yes, good to hear from Shake about the second unit's developing chemistry. He's been a leader for that group, even though he's still one of the younger guys on this team. Another leader, Seltz, is Dwight Howard. Dwight Howard has been giving us some fun content of late. If you don't know, if you haven't been to a Sixers game, Dwight has been a big proponent of the Wendy's Frosty Freeze Out. And I believe we have some media that would describe what Dwight really thinks of the Wendy's Frosty Freeze Out. Nice.
He's one of us.
No doubt about it. He said after the game that he was headed straight to Wendy's post-game, that he'd make an appearance the next day also. I'll tell you what, Dwight Howard stays in really good shape for a man that goes to Wendy's multiple times in 24 hours.
Could not agree more. There he is. Is Dwight Howard ever having a rough day? If you're a human being, not every day can be perfect, but he is just so full of energy. We know this, and he always seems to be smiling, having a great time. I feel like it's starting to come back, Lauren, to one of the storylines that was discussed a lot at the beginning of the season. That Dwight, full of great vibes, seems to be in just the perfect spot. He has found himself, to his credit. He is determined and identified how to be the best version of himself he can be on and off the court at this stage of his career. Some people might be inclined to say late stage of his career, but who knows? He's talked about wanting to play 4 or 5 more years, and there's no reason to think that he can't do that.
Well, he prides himself in bringing positive energy to the office every day. It's something that Matisse Thybulle actually talked about a couple weeks ago that I think you might remember, Seltz. I think we've talked about it on this show, but Matisse said that the thing he actually admires most about Dwight is that positive attitude that he brings every day. Like you said, no human is actually having a great day every day, but Dwight puts on a happy face. He brings positive vibes, regardless of if the team is winning, if the team is losing, if he's playing well, if he's playing poorly. He brings the same energy to work every day. And Matisse said, as a young player, that's a pretty tremendous example to be setting for the guys that are looking up to you.
You love to feel those vibes. Getting into the Atlanta Hawks tonight, the 76ers opening up a 2-game homestand against an Eastern Conference rival, which comes into tonight's game, holding down the 5th spot in Eastern Conference standings. The 76ers are 6.5 games in front of them for second place. 20-8 is Atlanta's record since Nate McMillan, great coach who's been around the league, whether it was in Portland or Indiana, joined Atlanta as an assistant coach this year. They moved on from Lloyd Pierce back on March 1st, and he's done a tremendous job. And honestly, as a fan of the league, Lauren, I was pretty happy to hear that it was nothing more than an ankle sprain for Trae Young, I think it was. Bottom line is it wasn't anything serious for what seemed to initially be a potentially serious injury to one of the great, bright young players in the game.
Yeah, no doubt. I felt that same feeling of relief as a fan of the game myself, as a fan of young teams that are figuring it out, that are overperforming, maybe have a little bit of an underdog mentality. Trae Young, one of those young guys that's going to be in this league for a long time making waves. Good to hear that he's going to be okay. But if you are just joining us, Trae Young out tonight with that ankle sprain.
Suffered that injury a few games ago. As for the Hawks, also Cam Reddish, Tony Snell, DeAndre Hunter, a couple names also out of the lineup tonight. Lauren, I don't think anyone really cares about this, but I'll just note it for the record as we take a look at some of the highlights from the first game of the season. The 76ers played Atlanta back on January the 11th. The Hawks won that game 112-94.
The Hawks did win that game, but the Sixers only had 9 players available. That was one of those games during the health and safety protocols wave for this team. Dakota Mathias, a starter in this one. So I know the Sixers wish they could have had this one back from a competitive perspective, maybe found ways to hang more with perhaps, I don't know, a few more starters available in the lineup. So tonight, really the first chance that the Sixers, as a more cohesive, fuller unit, will have a chance to get some run against this Hawks team. But of course, the Hawks now a little bit depleted. So not necessarily the most accurate side-by-side comparison of these two teams in either of the first 2 matchups this season. We'll see what Friday has to offer.
Dakota Mathias, once a Sixer, always a Sixer. He did have that start.
I think a Sixer legend at this point. He did have that game winner. He had that start, and he was nothing but lovely and delightful to speak to during his time here. So, of course, wishing Dakota Mathias all the best.
For the first time this season, I'm not going to have to roll up a sleeve. Look at that. It's an almost 90-degree Wednesday. So look at that. We can just flash it. The swag from Tissot as we get to our keys to the game presented by Tissot. Lauren, why don't you lead us off?
Let's do it, Selton. Thanks as always to Tissot for keeping us feeling stylish and swaggy for this segment. My key to the game tonight, it's something we've discussed throughout the show. I called it chemistry class. The Sixers starting lineup has only had 24 games together this season. In theory, tonight, they should be able to get their 25th rep in as a group. But whether or not that full group is together, it's an opportunity as a healthy unit to get to know each other, to put in some time in the lab as a group together, because it's going to be valuable when you hit the playoffs against some teams that have maybe had even less time as a starting unit together. You know what I mean?
Yes, indeed. 100%. My key for tonight's game is keep the whistles quiet. Atlanta is dealing with some injuries and key player absences. They're really good, though, at getting the free throw line, and they're 5th in the NBA in free throw shooting percentage. They and the 76ers in the top 2 in free throws made. So don't give Atlanta any free opportunities they don't need. Let's keep the whistles quiet, defend without fouling, all that good stuff. I think the 76ers will be in great position tonight to win their 2nd straight game. And those are Tissot keys to the game, brought to you by Tissot Swiss, stylish, affordable, and our great presenting partner here on 7-6 Live Countdown, presented by Tissot. I think we can take one last look around the arena floor down there at the center line before we sign off. Yes, George Hill getting up some shots.
It's been cool to watch George acclimate as quickly as he has. He claims he's still pretty rusty, but it's been cool to see where he fits in with this team. Doc Rivers, Daryl Morey, both pretty bullish on how he would fit, and it's pretty clear now, only a few games into his tenure, exactly why.
George Hill, key member for what the 76ers think could be a quality bench going into the playoffs. I want to thank everyone involved in tonight's stream. As always, Ryan Coletti and Trevor Gaffney on the sticks. Lauren, thank you. We'll do it again on Friday when the 76ers wrap up this 2-game set against the Hawks. Enjoy tonight's game and get in some vitamin D. There's still a little bit left. Get outside. Soak it in while you still can.
Maybe do some earthing. What do you think, Seltz?
Why not? Earth away.
I'll see you on Friday.
Yeah.